Diacardia is the podcast for pairs and partners. Diacardia is also the art of speaking from the heart and listening through the heart. So it's about relationship. And today, I encourage you to leave your partner. That's what I did 2 weeks ago. I left my partner. For context, we live in a house in Oakland, and next door, our oldest child in their 30s lives in one unit, and our second oldest child, with their husband and two kids, live in the other unit of that house. And I left them. My wife dropped me off at the Amtrak station. I didn't know where I was going. I had 10 legs on my train ticket. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to be, and I didn't know when I was coming back. There was even a little chance I wouldn't come back. Diacardia is about listening through the heart and speaking through the heart. And so I hope to do that with you. And I invite you to do it with whatever partner you choose, whether it's a friend, a child, a parent, your spouse, or a significant other, or a co-founder, or a co-director, or a co-project manager. I invite you to do that. And I invite you to leave them. I want to share 4 letters with you today. AO, a part of, and AF, apart from. That we are all in relationship, a part of the other person in some way, and at times we are apart from them. And I think that if we use these concepts, we can have so much progress in building a stronger relationship. I'll share with you where I ended up, or where I think I've ended up, or where I think I am later in the episode when it comes to my wife and my home and being a part of her and apart from her. But first, let me share 3 ideas with you. No, let me first give you a question to consider so that if you check out of this podcast right now, you'll have some food for thought and not just my stories and ideas and experience. You could say to your partner, whether business or personal, partner, how do you think we are doing from your perspective on the balance between being a part of each other and apart from each other? And you could add a second question to share with each other. What ways would you like to be more a part of each other? And what ways would you want us to be more apart from each other? I'll share more about this later in the episode. But if you're thinking about it, it's got your wheels turning. And especially if you're thinking, what is this guy talking about? Then I would say you could be a part of each other at work strategically and in execution and in how you communicate to your teams and in how aligned you are. And that's the word we would use in business consulting. Our co-founders really aligned. Are we really a part of each other? Are we saying the same things to our funders and to our employees and to our customers as each other is saying? And are we saying everything to each other? And then you could ask, in what ways do you want to be apart from each other? Like maybe you want to dance and they don't want to dance with your personal partner, or metaphorically with your business partner. But with your personal partner, how do you want to be apart from them? Would you like more time? Would you like to jump on an Amtrak train like I did and just disappear for a while? A friend of mine was diagnosed with a heart condition 6 years ago. And every year on the anniversary of his diagnosis, he doesn't celebrate a birthday. He celebrates what he calls a rebirth day. And as I was talking to him about being a part of AO and apart from, he said, oh, yeah, I do that on my rebirth day. It's just a day for me, and I just go off and wander. Maybe you'd like to do that. Maybe you'd like to spend a little money that your spouse doesn't want you guys to spend. Maybe you'd like to go see a friend from college. Maybe you'd like to travel. Maybe you'd like to go to a workshop. Who knows? But it might be a really fruitful conversation. So now let me frame 3 really important things that might help you to have that conversation and build greater closeness. The first thing is that we are always in movement between being a part of and apart from. You could see yourself moving back and forth on a spectrum or swinging like a pendulum in any relationship with your parents when you were a kid, or let's say an adolescent. You swung toward being apart from, and you swung toward being a part of. And this continues. It can continue second by second, that you may say something and your partner may feel very much apart from you, may think what you said was rude or offensive or just plain wrong, and they felt apart from you. In another moment, your kids did something delightful and you looked at each other with a glance and you were so much a part of each other. So we're moving moment by moment, almost second by second. And then we're also moving in big stages and swings in our life. When we fall in love, when we start to fall out of love, when we have our first argument, when we have our first child, or in business, when we first launch the business, when we get our first contribution of capital, when we sell to our first customer. But then there are other stages, right? So number one, we're always in flux. Number two, the more you can be aware of this, accept this phenomenon and be aware, wow, I am pulling away. Wow, she is pulling away. He is pulling away from me. The more we can be aware of this and ask ourselves, why am I pulling away? What is she pulling away from? What are they pulling away from? Or we are so much a part of each other in a negative way that we're fighting with each other. We're grappling with each other like two wrestlers. And we can say, what's going on here? Why are we so ensnared in each other? Why are we so captured by each other? Why are we so upset with each other? As though we cannot separate and just be ourselves. Awareness, point number two, is really great. And the third point I will make with you is that it's hard. It's really hard to do it. And therefore, it asks for two things: curiosity about yourself and toward yourself, curiosity toward your partner, and care toward yourself, patience with yourself, and care and patience with the other. So those are the 3 points that we'll jump into. The first point is that we swing back and forth, and it will also give you a clue to why it is so damn hard to be aware of these swings and to negotiate these swings when we are too much a part of the other. They are driving us crazy, or our partner wants too much of us and we feel put upon by that. And that we also have movements in the other direction that we just want to be apart from. And sometimes it's flight. We run into the other room. We leave for a while. We stop talking. We flee from relationship, or they flee from a relationship with us. Why do we have this, and why is it so hard? Because of this. You and I and every other human being, and I think every other mammal, but don't check me on that, began a part of, A-O, a part of. We were born from mothers. We grew in mothers. We breathed their oxygen. We sucked their blood. We grew in their bellies. We felt their muscles. And lo and behold, we came apart from, AP, apart from them. We were no longer of them, but apart from them. And this captures a kind of ambivalence that we have, that we are and need to be part of others, and we are and need to be just me. So at that point where each of us became just me, and we took our first breath with a proverbial slap on our bottoms from a nurse or our dad, with the cutting of that umbilical cord, we came apart. And we learned very quickly that we have to come back together and be a part of our mother's breast, food, being clothed, being changed, being warmed, being comforted. We know that we need that to survive. And as 40-year-olds, 70-year-olds, we know that in business, we have to be a part of others. We have to work with our boss. We have to work with people who report to us. We have to work with our peers who are in different verticals. In family, we have to somehow get along with our parents, or at least we have that great longing to, but we have to be apart from them. like a single marigold, like a single goldfish, like a single golden bird. We are golden and want to be our own unique, individual, growing selves. And we want to replicate ourselves. We need somebody else to do that, although science is now making it such that we can be artificially inseminated and we can have our own baby. But typically, we need somebody to help us to have a child, to grow a child. So from the very beginning, we have ambivalent desires. We want to be a part of our parents, our siblings, our children, and we want to be apart from them. We want to be ourselves. We want to be the introvert in a family of extroverts. We want to be the artist in a family of accountants. We want to be a violinist when everyone else in the family loves to sing. We want to have nothing to do with music when everyone else wants to listen to music all the time. But we want to connect. I left my family because something in me needed to be apart from my wife and my adult children and my grandchildren, apart from my house. I will share more about that. But I don't judge myself, and neither did my wife judge me. To my tremendous praise and gratitude, she said, "You're a seeker. Go seek. Go get on a train. Get 10 legs on Amtrak. Check in sometime." And in a way that reminded me of the Gibran passages I read when I was 15 and 16 and feeling so romantic. Set it free. And if it's meant to come back, she said, if you're meant to come back, you'll come back. More again about that later. But that's point number one, is know that you vacillate. Know that your partner needs to get the F away from you sometimes. They need to have their own interests, their own thoughts, and their own feelings. And whatever desire you have, and you have it, I'm telling you, if you were here, I'd argue with you about it or inquire with you. You have the desire to control them. You want them to make your life work. You want them to eat what you eat and watch what you watch and give you space the way you want space. And sometimes they're annoying and irritating in that swing back and forth, just as you are annoying and irritating. So point one, accept that you're ambivalent and that there is this movement back and forth. Point number two, awareness of the movement is great. Let me tell you a couple of quick stories about this. In stages, we are close and in love with the other. We are infatuated with them. I certainly went through that. I met Jennifer when I was 27 and she was 26. She was everything that I was not, and she was everything that I wanted. She was female, which in my sexual preferences worked just great. She was attractive to me in ways that she was completely different than me and much more attractive than me. She was attractive to me in ways that we could easily be a part of each other. And we could see that happening. We both had a Christian faith that was important to us. We both had political views that were quite well aligned. We both had dreams of life, of making a difference in the world. And so we came together. And there were times we couldn't live without each other. In the first summer that she was in New York and I was in Detroit, we said, okay, we can afford to see each other every other weekend. We'll trade directions. You come west and I'll go east. But we couldn't last a week. We were so desperate to be a part of each other. And so we got engaged. Then something happened. The pendulum swung one day. As I was saying, it can swing in a moment's time from being a part of to apart from. And it can also swing, in this case, on a much bigger arc, that we were at a point in our life of trying to start to think about how we were going to be apart from each other. We weren't so much thinking about being apart from each other at this point. We only wanted to be a part of each other, but we were thinking about it. And so we talked at a Chinese restaurant on 10 Mile Road and Southfield Road in Southfield, Michigan. And somehow in passing, or somehow we said to each other, I said to her, "You'll take my name." And there was a little bit of questioning in my voice. It was 40 years ago, still a time in which the expectation was that women would take men's names, but not all of them did. And so I suppose there was a voice in me that said, uh-oh, like, how's she going to answer this? Is she one of those radical feminists? And she said, no, I'm not going to take your name. And so we came flying apart from each other. I wanted her to take my name. She didn't. And we came flying back together in engagement, in something that was kind of like dialogue, ideas traded back and forth. It was hard to be open-hearted because we both risked losing something. We risked being very vulnerable. And I said to her, well, come on. We want people to see us as a family. We're thinking about having kids. People should know we're one unit, and you and I are one unit. And I thought I was convincing and that she would come together with me. But no, she pulled even further apart, and she said to me, I am totally great with that. We should be one family. It's very simple. Take my name. Now, 40 years ago, this was unimaginable to a man, to a white, privileged, chauvinistic, though he denied it, man. And so I pulled away again, and I tried to pull her with me and said, come on, Jen, there's tradition. It's just a convention. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It's just that people understand that whose name it was. And she said to me, tradition. Is that it? Tradition, like slavery, like tradition. Women can't vote. Women can't own property. Women can't divorce. Whoa. Now that one hit me in a really interesting way. And I'll share that this was a place of great resolution. We resolved the musical conflict. The duet came together in this spectacular way. The plot came together in a happily ever after. And this is how, is that I realized that what she was speaking, apart from me, from her standpoint, as a woman growing up in America in the time we grew up in, from her standpoint, what she was inviting me to was a more radical equality that actually aligned much better with my deepest self, with my best self. That her being apart from me, she could say to me, consider this, look at this from my point of view. And I could say, you are dead on right. You are absolutely right. Here's how we technically resolved it. She became Jennifer Mulhern Granholm, and I became Daniel Granholm Mulhern. And we came as close as we could to recognizing each other's apartness, the beauty of each other's families and lineage, and yet being a part of each other, swapping middle names for last names. It was a great resolution. Sometimes when we can be curious and caring and listen to each other really deeply through the heart. Why is this important to you, Dan? Why is this important to you, Jennifer? Help me understand. Not try to railroad the other, run over the top of the other, use force of will or sometimes force of logic and intellect to convince them we're right, but to yield, to open up, to listen. That was a happy story. Sometimes the stories have been more difficult, and I'll share one other. If you fast forward in our lives, we were aligned by our values and our desire to make political change. We happen to be Democrats. We could as easily, for today's story, have been Republicans. And what happened is that we were different from each other. We were apart from each other in this way, that I knew I wanted to be in electoral politics, become a governor, and become a president. That was part of my identity that I knew about myself. And Jennifer did not know how she would manifest her values, how she would be an activist and political and make a difference in the world in accordance with her deepest beliefs. But life happened. And about 14 or 15 years into our marriage, maybe only 10, I realized that despite my identifying myself as political and as having a future in politics, I realized I didn't enjoy it that much and I wasn't good at it. And simultaneously, what was happening was that life was telling Jennifer that it wanted her. People wanted her to be in that role. She was good at policy and she was good at politics, and she loved it. So we did a strange kind of crisscrossing where our wholeness, our being a part of each other, had been with a certain future. And I mean certain in both ways, like a particular one, but certain. I was certain, but I was no longer certain. And I was certain that to love her was to support her because she was going to be good at this. And so we merged our identities, switching places with her in the lead and me as the trailer. Now, fast forward, she wins her first race and becomes Attorney General of the state of Michigan. Big deal. We have children now, 8, 7, and 2, and I'm taking the traditional female role in the lead with those children as her career and the demands on her mount more and more significantly. So we decide, as poor kids, that we can get a free trip, that we can go to the National Association of Attorneys General, the National Association of Attorneys General summer conference in Nashville, Tennessee. And we can take our kids to a new city, have them experience staying in a hotel, maybe hear some country western music, just have a great time. And we can be together as well in Jennifer's participation now in this very heady and fascinating national scene of attorneys general. At the time, they were suing tobacco companies, by the way. At any rate, we go, and I'm chasing 3 children all around the hotel who all want to do different things. But I get a break from being apart from Jennifer, and I'm a part of Jennifer, and we're at poolside at a reception of the attorneys generals, and she's with 4 of them, 3 of whom, like her, will in 4 years, unbeknownst to them at this moment, become governors. This is really quite the place. And I'm feeling like, wow, this is kind of that ego rush that I thought I would have. And this is kind of cool. And then it stopped as though a car had run smack into a wall when the togetherness came apart. Because they were talking about things as attorneys general that I had no knowledge of. I felt completely apart. They could have been talking about nuclear physics or playing violin in the New York Philharmonic. I knew nothing about it. I was apart and felt alienated and lonely and detached from what had been a shared experience. Wow, it's hard to do that. Well, at that time, I wasn't really aware that our life was undulating. I was in some ways, but not in others. That a pendulum was swinging between being a part of each other and apart from each other. And that there was a new experience because now I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in life. And that was very difficult to be with her who knew what she wanted to do and was being great at it. Well, it took a long, long time. And the story of 2 weeks ago, my taking an Amtrak train and leaving my wife, is part of that story of going away and coming back and going away and coming back. So this is the undulation, and this is part of my difficulty with it and my growing awareness of it. And so what I want to share with you are some thoughts about that as you think about how in the long sweep of your life, maybe you've been business partners with somebody for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, have there been big swings when the world has wanted different things from you and you've wanted different things from each other and you've wanted to be a part of each other, but you've differed, you've had differing views, or as a couple, you had differing views. Where do we want to live? In the city or out of the city? Where do we want our kids? In public schools or private schools? Who's going to cover? Who's going to cover more? Who's going to cover less? And how do we have a life together when there's so little time? So many of us, in some ways, then in the big swings of our life, when we hit 40 or 45 or 50, say, well, we've been on this joint project and we haven't always been aligned about how to raise the kids, and it's been hard sometimes, but we've stuck together. But now, what's the mission? What's the project? Who are you? And who am I? How will we be apart from each other, and how will we be together? And so I want to invite you to have that conversation with your partner. How are you balancing being apart from each other and being a part of each other? Do you both like the balance? And in what places do you like it or dislike it? For example, how much are you a part of the kids' lives? How much are you a part of your parents' lives? How much are you a part of each other financially? How much are you a part of each other as you look perhaps toward retirement? How much are you a part of each other as your husband or wife or partner's career has changed and you don't know what they're doing, or you don't care about it as much as I don't care about politics in the passionate way that I did earlier on? And as Jennifer doesn't necessarily care about self-discovery and talking about relationship the way I do. So surfacing those conversations by being apart from each other to share how you're experiencing it. Where do you want more time, more space apart? Where do you want more time, more space together? As your bodies change from before you have children and you're full of sexual libido and energy and attraction, and then it changes maybe when she has children, when one of you stays at home. It changes when one of you has health conditions, when one has breast cancer, when you both get older, when your knees start to hurt, right? As these things happen, it's not necessarily unconscious and easy that you will be a part of each other in simple ways. How do you surface those conversations to ask, how would you like to be a part of me? And how would I like to be a part of you? And certainly as people face retirement, how do we want to do that? And I want to offer a confession that perhaps is useful for you. A confession that flips my story that I began with, that I left my wife, and a story that's helping me a lot, a new story. I wrote about it the other day as a restoring or a re-story, to start a new story. And here's my confession, is that there were ways in which I blamed Jennifer. And if I can, I'll give me and you a little bit of room. It wasn't my best self that blamed Jennifer for loving her career. Sometimes it seemed more than me, or for not seeing my needs when we had our perpetual issues that all couples have. Um, I could blame Jennifer for wanting to go off with the children and not spend time with me, for instance. So a part of me blamed her and felt like, this is the important part, that in her being apart from me, or apart from what I wanted from her, apart from the way I wanted her to be a part of me, I blamed her. But the unintended consequence of that is that I lost my own agency, my own responsibility to ask, what is it that I want? And can I, in humility, ask her for some of that? Can I ask for her time with the potential that she says, no, I'm busy? Can I ask her, this is has been a perpetual issue for us, to let me travel with her when she's on a business trip and when I have a little bit more time, when she doesn't want that? She doesn't want me to be a part of her hotel room and the mental space she needs to give a big speech, or to chair a conference, or to meet with a customer, or to go to a corporate board meeting. I lost my own agency to ask for what I needed, and also to discuss with her how is it appropriate for me to remain a part of us, but be apart from, to have other relationships with other people, not just a therapist who supports me so greatly, and not just male friends who oftentimes don't speak a language that I speak of intimacy and relationship, but also with women. How do I negotiate that with myself, but maintain agency? So, what I'm saying is, I blamed, the psychological word, I projected like a projector. I threw onto her the blame. I saw her faults as the reason I wasn't feeling a part of the relationship, but I wasn't a part of myself. And so when I withdrew the projection, because I knew at the time I took that train, which I didn't tell you at the beginning, that I wasn't so much getting away from Jennifer as I was getting away from me. I was getting away from my judgments about her, my blaming her, my thinking that Jennifer was irritating me, and that the sentence Jennifer was irritating me was about Jennifer, and that the solution was for Jennifer to change. I was getting away from that to see that the sentence Jennifer was irritating me actually started with me. What am I irritated about? What do I need? Why am I unhappy? Am I making her a scapegoat for my unhappiness in parts of my life? I'm not clinically depressed, though if I were, then I would be, and that's what I would deal with. So I'm letting her be her, not the characterization, the character I've created, who has everything happy and everything work, and who doesn't see poor me. I was letting go of the characterization of her, the caricature of her, the way we exaggerate someone's bad features as a cartoonist. We caricature them. I was letting go of that picture by getting out of the space and out of the place to be able to think clearly. And in the meantime, I was letting go of the sense of a part of me, not my whole self, that felt like a victim, that had lost its agency to figure out, what do I need? How do I write? How do I do a podcast? How do I have the professional success I want? And how do I have the intimacy that I want with my wife, but also a different kind of intimacy, not a sexual intimacy, but a real intimacy with other people, including close female friends. So I had to liberate myself and let myself not be demonized by having to be some romantic dream of a partner with her, and yet be a part of her, and not blame her in being apart from me. By the way, a vocation and career I've encouraged and championed. Go do it, Jen. Be you. Be big. Make a difference in the world. But let her be that fully, and uh, not do something different than that. And here's the last point I want to make, is that I'm not really letting Jennifer be Jennifer. I'm not letting Jennifer be with our kids when I'd like her to be with me, or letting Jennifer go on a trip in 3 days to Belgium, London, and Paris, which is not going to be a fun trip anyway for me. I'm not letting her do that. I am letting myself let her off my inner hooks, off of a space of blame or disappointment that she is victimizing me. The more I can let her be her full self, including be apart from me in her career, in her travel, in her unique relationships with our 3 children and 2 grandchildren, that they are not comparative to each other. The more I can let her be who she really is as an act of myself, not as though I own her or control her, the more likely it is, ironically, that she's going to feel more safe with me, not feel attacked by me, be a part of me. So that's the invitation. Can you let yourself, with kindness and curiosity, ask, what do I need to be a part of my partner? And what do I need that's important to be a part of them? What would I like to ask them for to be more a part of me? Is it to go to a game? Is it to hang out with my friends? Is it to spend some money? Is it to have some fun? Is it to lay in bed on a Sunday morning or not lay in bed on a Sunday morning? What is it that I want apart from her? Both to be a part of her and to be the part of me, the goldfish, the golden bird, the marigold that wants to be the unique goldenness that it is, that she is, that I am, that they are, right? How do we allow that? I hope you've enjoyed and not just endured this session. If you found it helpful in any way, let me know, comment, email me at dan@danmulhern.com. Like the episode, share the episode, maybe point to a specific line in the episode that you liked. Maybe take a note for yourself now. I hope you have a wonderful conversation with partners where you're asking them, how are we a part of each other? How would you like to be more a part of each other? How would you like to be more apart from me? Be the goldfish, the marigold, the golden bird that you are, that you might fly, and once in a while return to the perch with me.